about these days. Um, I'm Alan Mattison. I'm a lawyer over in Washington, D.C. All I do is work with nonprofits all day long. Before I went to law school, I worked at nonprofits as a communications director myself and worked on political campaigns. I've been working with the American Heart Association on their Voices for Healthy Kids program ever since its inception more than a decade ago. And I'm excited to work with all of you. The stuff we're going to talk about today is a lot of you understand, you get grants from all sorts of different sources. Most of those grants will say that you can't use them for lobbying or restricts how you use them for lobbying. And I know from my background working at a nonprofit, when you're told you can't use it for lobbying, you don't really know all the time exactly what counts as lobbying and what isn't lobbying. And so the tendency in the advocacy world is to stay way back, to hang back just so you don't get in trouble. No one wants to get their wrist slapped by the funder. No one wants to jeopardize future funding. So people tend to stay way back. And that's not good for a bunch of reasons. One, because most importantly, foundations want you to get your toes right up to the line. The goal here is the foundations want their money to be used as effectively as possible and as powerfully as possible. So they want you getting your toes up to the line. And that's what we're really going to talk about is what are the rules so that everyone can really understand functionally what's lobbying and what's not lobbying. And as the question came up in the chat box, we're going to be sharing out these slides, and we're also going to share out a cheat sheet, if you will, of what are the rules for definitions for lobbying and what's not lobbying. And then we're really going to lean into planning strategically so that everyone can get the biggest bang for the buck for the money that they're getting from different foundations and from different funders. And we'll talk about some examples from the real world so that you can apply these issues. I really appreciate people putting questions into the chat box or just coming off of mute and asking questions. If there's something that I've said that is confusing to you, I guarantee that there's a dozen other people on the call that it's confusing for as well. And they will all appreciate it if you take the time to ask the question in the chat box. I'll address those questions unless I know it's coming up on the next slide or something like that. But I really want this to be more of a dialogue than a soliloquy. So please ask those questions. I'll make it interactive by posing questions for you all as well. The basic rule here for 501c3 public charities, which is pretty much everybody who's on this call, is that public charity 501c3s are allowed to do lobbying. There's a limit to how much lobbying they can do, and we'll get into that a little bit. But the important thing here is that public charities are allowed to do lobbying. Now, there's two different types of 501c3 organizations. There are public charities, which are allowed to do some lobbying, and then there's private foundations, and private foundations can't directly pay for lobbying. Now, the distinction between these two is public charities, even if the public charity has the word foundation in its name, public charities are any entity, essentially, you can think of it as any entity that does fundraising. If you're raising money from a bunch of different sources, you're a public charity and you're allowed to do lobbying, even if your organization's name has the word fund or foundation in it. Private foundations are things like the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, where they're just getting money from one family, or in the Gates Foundation example, it's Bill and Melinda Gates put their money into it, and their buddy Warren Buffett threw a bunch of money into it. But it's a small, restricted group of funders. And those private foundations can't directly pay for lobbying. And so importantly, for your purposes, a lot of those foundation grants are going to say in the grant agreement that none of their money can be used for lobbying. So what I want us all to focus on today is think about how do we use those restricted foundation non-lobbying grants? How do we use those non-lobbying grants to advance legislation? And there's a whole bunch of smart strategies for what we can do to use those restricted non-lobbying grants to push legislation in a non-lobbying manner. And that's what we're going to focus on today. Now, the stuff we're talking about today only involves the IRS rules. It doesn't involve state law, doesn't involve congressional rules. Every state and Congress, they have their own separate definitions of lobbying. And those just differ from these IRS rules. So you got to think about the state definitions and the IRS definitions at the same time. There are certain things that the IRS defines as lobbying that your state might not treat as lobbying, and vice versa. There could be things that you're reporting to the Secretary of State as lobbying in your state, and then you turn around and tell your foundation grantors and you tell the IRS, we didn't do any lobbying. And that's totally fine. The definitions we're talking about today are what are called the Section 501H rules. And I'm not going to explain those right now. We'll send out an email with those 501H rules later. All that matters is if you're an organization whose annual budget is like less than $20 million a year, your organization should be using these 501H definitions that we're talking about today. And so in my follow-up email, I'll include a little bit of an explanation about that. But if your organization has a budget under $20 million a year and you're not already electing to use these 501H rules, I'd really encourage you to do so. And I'll follow up with an email explaining why. Okay, any questions that folks have before we dive into the definitions here? Well, feel free to put them in the chat. So there's two different types of lobbying that we're going to talk about today. There's direct lobbying, which are communications directly with legislators or their staffers about legislation. And then there's also grassroots lobbying, which are communications to the public that are aimed at influencing legislators. Now, for that definition of direct lobbying, it has to have three elements. It's got to be a communication directly with legislators or staffers. It's got to be about specific legislation, and it has to reflect the organization's view on that legislation. If we leave off any one of those elements, it's just not lobbying. So let's talk about those elements. The first is we're talking about direct communications with legislators or staffers, face-to-face meetings, emails, letters, phone calls. So a client of mine bought a big billboard outside of a state senator's local district office. And it said, Senator Hernandez, vote yes on S226 to keep our kids healthy. That billboard outside of her district office does not count as direct lobbying because even though we know that Senator Hernandez and her staff are going to see it whenever they go in and out of their office, anyone who drives by that strip mall is going to see it as well. So for direct lobbying, it's not something like a billboard that's targeted at a state senator. It really has to be a communication that only is between you and the legislator per se, or their staffer. So it's a communication directly with the legislator or staffer on specific legislation. Now, obviously, this is bills that have been introduced. It also includes ballot measures, because if you think about a ballot measure, that's like a ancient Greek direct democracy, where all of the voters are the legislative body that's deciding whether or not to adopt legislation for that jurisdiction. So C3s are allowed to get involved with ballot measures. It's treated as a direct lobbying expense, but a lot of people think about, C3s can't be involved in supporting or opposing candidates in elections, and too often they'll extrapolate that into ballot measures as well. But it's important that organizations understand that a C3 is allowed to get involved with ballot measures. It's just treated as direct lobbying. And then I've got here in red that legislation includes specific legislative proposals that haven't been introduced yet. And I want to focus on that for a minute. So basically, the IRS is saying here that if you're telling a legislator what you want them to introduce, it's lobbying even though that bill hasn't been introduced yet. There's a fine line there, though, between telling them what you want them to introduce and just talking to them about a general policy proposal. So let me give you an example. It's not lobbying if you tell a legislator, hey, we want to raise the minimum wage in our state so that families can put bread on their table and a roof over their heads. That's not lobbying because you're not talking to them about legislation. But if you said to a legislator, we need to raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour and eliminate the discrepancy for tipped workers by 2028, that's treated as direct lobbying because you're telling that legislator exactly what you want them to introduce. I want you guys to think, though, about the negative. Think about all the stuff that's not specific legislation. All of those communications with a legislator about things other than legislation are just not lobbying. So, if you're talking to a legislator about raising the minimum wage and you're not giving them specificity about how much you want them to raise it to, that's not lobbying. Similarly, if you are talking to a legislator about an executive branch action that you want them to weigh in on, let's say the state health department is setting a new standard for how much sugary drinks kids can consume at daycares. You, of course, your organization can weigh in with the Department of Health on that rulemaking and tell the health department what you think it should be set at. And that's not lobbying because you're not communicating with a legislator about legislation. You can also call up the state Senate committee chair who's got jurisdiction over the health committee and say, hey, why don't you call the Secretary of Health and weigh in on this regulation about sugary drinks in childcare centers? Because that Senate committee chair is going to have a heck of a lot more influence than you or I are going to have when you talk to the Secretary of the Department of Health. But it's not lobbying to ask that state Senate committee chair to weigh in on a regulatory or executive branch action because you're talking to a legislator, but you're not talking to them about legislation. Remember, it's only going to be treated as direct lobbying if you're having a communication with a legislator and you reflect a view on legislation. If you have a communication with a legislator and you're reflecting a view on something that's not legislation, like a rulemaking by an executive branch agency, that's totally non-lobbying. And so we can think about using these rules, leveraging these rules to do as much advocacy as we can with legislators without it being treated as a lobbying expense. So let me ask folks, so we've got a question here from Stephanie. How to count the time developing a communication with a legislator? Great question, Stephanie. So all of the time that goes into developing a lobbying communication is treated as lobbying. So if you are drafting a letter to a legislator, all of the time that you spend drafting that letter needs to be tracked as a direct lobbying expense. And then the finance team in your organization will apply that, basically whoever worked on that letter, they've got an hourly rate based on their salary and benefits and overhead. And the finance team will say, okay, they spent 2 hours writing this letter. Their hourly rate is $100 an hour. So we've spent $200 of direct lobbying money writing this letter about the legislation to that legislator. Does that get your question, Stephanie? You can just come off of mute if you want to just follow up.
Sure. So I was pretty sure that was the case.
Okay.
What about if you're doing things like, and I assume that's also the case if you're doing something like saying, I don't know, developing like social media so it's letters, calls, developing social media, developing an e-newsletter that goes to legislators, any kind of a communication tool. Also, all the time it takes like to develop the graphics and all that kind of stuff counts as lobbying time.
Well, we're going to get into social media in a minute because remember, direct lobbying is only communications directly with a legislator or staff member. And so your social media is a public communication like that big billboard outside of Senator Hernandez's office.
Right.
So
Even if
some
you tag that member and say, calling on blah 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 to then
let's
yeah.
put a pin on the social media one because
Okay.
we're gonna get to that. I'm super glad you're thinking ahead on that. Um, if you have the other example you gave was a newsletter that goes to all legislators, right? You're just publishing a newsletter for legislators every week or every month or something like that. If it's limited to legislators, then the costs associated with creating the content for that newsletter will all be direct lobbying expenses. Um, we'll talk about in just a minute how we can keep Stephanie's example in mind. I think it's a good example for everyone to keep in mind, and we'll circle back to it in just a minute too. Um, I have an example on the screen here from the Massachusetts Food Systems Alliance, where they brought a whole bunch of advocates from around the state. They bussed them to the state house to talk about the healthy incentives program, right? So they got all of these advocates from around the state, brought them into Boston to the state house, and they met with each of their representatives and senators to talk to them about this healthy incentives program that had been implemented, it had been implemented that year. The legislation had passed the previous year. And they're explaining to these legislators how many farmers from their district are selling produce through the program and getting more revenue from their produce because of the program, and how many students in their district are getting fed breakfast and lunches through the healthy incentives program. So they're talking about how effective this program was. I'd like you to vote in the chat box. Do you think is this direct lobbying or is this non-lobbying? And why do you think so? Is this, say in the chat box, is it direct lobbying or is it not lobbying? And why? What's the rationale that you have? Or what other information do you need to know? So Amy says it's direct because it's a direct interaction with the legislator. Okay. See what other folks say. JC says non-lobbying, just sharing information about an existing program, no ask included. Couple non-lobbying votes, give people some more time. I'm glad people are providing explanations with their answers here. Stephanie says it's only lobbying if you're asking for funding for a specific bill to continue or expand the program. So yeah, the folks who weighed in here, on the non-lobbying side, it's non-lobbying because they didn't talk about any legislation. So it's not necessarily that there's no ask about the legislation. For example, you could go in and talk to a legislator about a bill that they are introducing that you support, and the legislator could be asking you for feedback on that bill that they want to introduce, or you could be plotting strategy with the senator about who you need to get on board to get yeses from to get the bill passed. The key here is that you're talking about an existing program. You're talking about an existing policy and just how that policy is working. They weren't talking, the Mass Food Systems Alliance had briefed all of their advocates not to talk about upcoming legislation, just to talk about how well that program is working. And they did this in March. They knew that they were going to have a budget fight in May about getting more funding for the healthy incentives program. But what they did was they knew this was going to be really expensive to bring advocates in from all around the state, to bus them in, to provide them lunch. You got to buy the little basil plants that they got for all the legislators, and they checked to make sure the cost of the basil was below the threshold in Massachusetts for gifts. But it was an expensive day to bring all of these advocates in to talk about the Healthy Incentives Program. And so they wanted to use non-lobbying foundation grant funding to pay for it. So they briefed all the advocates that they were just talking about how the program was working. They weren't talking about any upcoming budget requests. And then in May, when there was a budget fight over expanding funding for the Healthy Incentives Program, all of these legislators had already been turned into champions for the program because the advocates had come in and talked about how well the program was working for farmers and students in their district. They used non-lobbying dollars to excite these legislators about the program. They used a lot of non-lobbying dollars to pay for this advocacy day. And then it was just a little bit of money in May, of a little bit of direct lobbying money in May to turn these legislators to get them to increase funding for the program when the budget fight came up. So yeah, it's not necessarily about the ask. It's about the fact that the communication didn't involve a discussion of any pending legislation. It was just about the bill that had passed the previous year. Any questions about that stuff before we move on to grassroots lobbying? Oh, Patricia asks, what risk is there in calling themselves advocates? No risk at all, right? It doesn't matter what you call yourself per se. Um, Advocacy is a perfectly fine thing to say that you're doing as a C3 with non-lobbying dollars. So great question, but yeah, there's no risk in calling themselves advocates because they are advocating for this program. Thanks. So the other type of lobbying that we want to address here is grassroots lobbying. Now, grassroots lobbying, this is, that billboard that I mentioned outside of Senator Hernandez's office. This is like that billboard. It's a communication to the public. So, and it's any kind of communication to the public. It could be that, when Stephanie mentioned social media, it includes social media, includes billboards, TV ads, you name it. So it's got to be a communication to the public that reflects a view on specific legislation, and it has to include what the IRS defines as a call to action, which means that if you've got a communication to the public that reflects a view on legislation, but it doesn't have that call to action, it's just not lobbying, right? If you leave off the call to action, you can use non-lobbying money to pay for public communications that advocate for legislation. So let's drill into that call to action. The most obvious is asking people to contact their legislator, right? If that billboard outside Senator Hernandez's office, that billboard outside on the street near the strip mall said, call Senator Hernandez and tell her to vote yes, that would be treated as a call to action. So that billboard would have to be paid for with grassroots lobbying dollars. And if it was that easy, we could circumvent it 6 ways to Sunday. So they also have some other prongs that also give people enough of a nudge to want to contact that legislative. Saying Senator Hernandez is our legislator or providing her contact information on the billboard. Those things provide you a nudge to want to contact her. Identifying a legislator as being neutral or opposed to our position on the bill. The reason that this is included here is that if that billboard said, yay, Senator Hernandez, we're so glad you're going to vote yes. Like, I'm busy. I'm not going to stop and call Senator Hernandez just because the billboard said, yay, she's doing a good job. I'm like, great, I'm glad she's going to do the right thing for kids. I can just move on with my day. But if the billboard had said, Senator Hernandez, get off the fence and vote yes on S226 to keep kids healthy, I might be motivated to call Senator Hernandez and ask her to vote yes. So that's why these are considered a call to action, even though it doesn't directly tell people to contact that legislator. Similarly, providing like a form email or a petition, all of those things would motivate people to want to contact the legislator, those are all treated as a form of a call to action. But what I want people to think about here is using grassroots lobbying dollars only when they're going to really have an impact. Think about, I like to think of it as the return on investment. How much of an engagement rate are you going to get from your communication tool? And is it worth it in terms of return on investment? So let me give you an example before I circle back. I'll circle back to Stephanie's example in a minute, but let me give you a different example first. We had a Heart Association had a campaign going on in the city where they were trying to get more funding for sidewalks, crosswalks, and public transit. And their initial idea was to spend $100,000 on bus wraps that said, call the city council and tell them to vote yes for more funding for safer streets. And they didn't have $100,000 of grassroots lobbying money to use. They had a foundation grant that we're going to spend most of it from. And so we talked about strategy. And I said, hey, first of all, it's a safe streets campaign. You don't want people from their cars to be calling the city council, when a bus drives by them. That's dangerous, first of all. And that's against the folks in your coalition that are the safe streets organizations. But more importantly, the bus wraps weren't going to generate any actual calls to the city council, right? No one who sees a bus drive by them is going to pick up the phone and call the city council right then. So what we did was the bus wraps said the city council should pass funding for sidewalks, crosswalks, and public transit for a safer, and then they named the city. So we used non-lobbying dollars on those bus wraps because they were communications to public, they reflected a view on the legislation, but they didn't have a call to action on those bus wraps. And then in the bus shelters, we bought those ads in the bus shelters for about $10,000, super cheap in the bus shelters. So we spent $60,000 in the bus wraps to increase visibility. And then in the bus shelters, we put a QR code on the ads. And they said, if you want safer streets and better public transit, snap right here and call your city council member right now. The people in the bus shelters, by definition, use sidewalks, crosswalks, and public transit. They had a phone in their hand, and by definition, they had time on their hands because the buses didn't run often enough in that city. So the bus shelter ads for $10,000 generated a ton of contacts to the city council. So for a much lower investment of money, for $10,000 worth of grassroots lobbying dollars, they generated a ton of calls to the city council through that QR code. Whereas if they had spent that money on the bus wraps, if the bus wraps had had the QR code, it wouldn't have generated any calls to the city council. So you want to be thinking about which tactics are going to generate a high return on investment for investing grassroots lobbying dollars. So going back to Stephanie's earlier question, if you generate communications to the public about your bills, about your legislative priorities, and they don't have a call to action, they're not going to be treated as grassroots lobbying. And the important thing here is if you distribute those communications broadly to the public, you can later on use them as part of your lobbying effort, and it's still the creation of those materials remains non-lobbying. So to go a step further from what Stephanie is saying here in the chat box, if you have, a report, for example, on, here's the one on prenatal to 3 outcomes. You can have a report. These are expensive to produce. It takes a lot of time and staff money to write and research these reports. They can advocate for legislation. And as long as they don't have an IRS-defined call to action, they'll be treated as non-lobbying. You distribute them broadly to the public. You get them out to, journalists, editorial board writers, bloggers, podcasters, get it out to clergy so that they can preach about it in their sermons, get it out to coalition allied organizations, distribute these materials as broadly as you can to the public without a call to action, just to educate people about the legislation. And then later on, when you have a lobby day, you can hand these materials out at lobby day. And the cost, the fact that you handed them out at lobby day doesn't turn them into a lobbying communication. Or, for example, Stephanie's example earlier about a legislative newsletter. If you write up that legislative newsletter and distribute the legislative newsletter every month to all of your activists, get it out to journalists to give the journalists an update on what's going on these bills, get it out to all of your community allied organizations and your coalitions. If you're distributing that newsletter broadly about legislation, you can also send it to legislators, and that doesn't turn the cost of writing that newsletter into a lobbying expense. So you just want to think about how do we want to spend our lobbying dollars so that they're going to have the biggest bang for the buck? And when do we want to structure something as a non-lobbying communication so that we can use our foundation grant money as efficiently and effectively as possible? Um, you know, on this prenatal three outcomes framework, it's a fascinating document. But if you get to page 19 and it says at the end of page 19, hey, if you're motivated about prenatal to three outcomes, call your legislator and tell them to pass the such and such act. Like, no one's going to call just because they got to page 19 of this framework and it said on the framework that they should make a call to their legislator. So we want to be thoughtful about where we put the call to action on these materials and when we use a call to action and when we don't, right? Um, I want to talk about uh, one other part of the rule, and then we'll really dive into examples in depth here. So there's an exception to the rule here for what the IRS calls technical advice or assistance, but really what you guys could think of it as is testimony, right? If you have an opportunity to provide testimony to a governmental body, like a legislative committee, it's not lobbying if you do it in response to a written request. And so if the governmental entity, if that body asks you to testify, then all of the expenses related to the testimony are non-lobbying, and you can use your restricted foundation grants to pay for it. Now, there are some important I's that need to be dotted and T's that need to be crossed here. So let me mention what those are. The request has to come from the committee chair on behalf of the committee. It can't just be made by some crazy backbencher who likes you guys and wants you to testify. In order to meet the IRS requirements, it needs to be from that committee chair on behalf of the committee, because the IRS wants to make sure that it's something that the body views as valuable expertise. But even if the committee chair is hostile to your issue, one of the members of the minority can ask the committee chair to write one of these letters, and they'll almost always do it out of professional courtesy, right? It's really easy to get because it doesn't cost the committee chair anything to send one of these letters. The example that's on the screen here is one that I wrote for Rachel Callanan back when she was the lobbyist for the Heart Association. I wrote this letter, I emailed it to Rachel. She forwarded my email on to the committee chair's chief of staff. Committee chair's chief of staff copied and pasted my letter verbatim, put it on letterhead, gave it to her boss to sign. The boss signed it, and they sent it back to Rachel. Didn't change a word of it, but now it's like a Willy Wonka golden ticket. Rachel was able to charge all of her time writing and researching the testimony, going to the Capitol for the day to deliver the testimony. All of those expenses were charged to a non-lobbying grant from the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation because she got one of these Willy Wonka golden tickets. So it's a really powerful exception and a great way to use non-lobbying dollars to advance a bill. And of course, if you get one of these letters, your foundation funders are going to be excited to hear that you're using their money in a completely legal way for non-lobbying work to advance a bill. The key is that the information you're providing has to be available to everyone on the committee. It can't just be you and the committee chair in a back room writing a bill. It needs to be information that you're sharing with everyone who's on that committee. But it's a really powerful exception, and I really encourage folks to take advantage of it during this legislative session. If there's an opportunity for it, reach out to me and let me know, and I can help you understand how to structure one of those letters. Uh, any questions on that before we dive into the examples? All right, so let's see if our examples hit every question. Stephanie here has a whole bunch of examples in her question. Let's see if we've got slides to address every one of her questions here. So the first example here is a fact sheet about a bill. This is Healthcare for All in Massachusetts. Circulated this fact sheet. It says, here's information about HB 1186. The sponsors are Representative Driscoll and Senator Cronin. Here's all the information about why this bill is a really important bill for expanding coverage. It says, this is a health equity issue. Here's all the good things that the bill does. For more information, contact Healthcare for All. Here's Alex's email address, and here's Ashley's email address. Let's vote, and Ashley, I'll get to your question in a second. Let's vote in the chat box here. Do you think this fact sheet from Healthcare for All, this fact sheet about a bill from Healthcare for All, is it direct lobbying? Is it grassroots lobbying? Or is it non-lobbying, and why? Or do you need more information about this fact sheet before you can weigh in on whether it's lobbying or non-lobbying or grassroots lobbying? So let's vote in the chat box. Do you think it's lobbying? Which type of lobbying and why? Or do you need more information? A couple of different responses here. A couple of people saying it's non-lobbying for a variety of different reasons. JC says their position is clear. It's mostly factual, but there's no ask. Mary says it's not directed to a legislator, doesn't include a call to action, right? See if we have a couple more votes weigh in the next minute or so. Mary, if you don't mind coming off of mute and explaining your rationale here, that'd be great.
Sure, yeah. It seems like just a more general education for folks. And so it doesn't seem specifically addressed to a particular legislator. And also, yeah, I don't see anywhere on here where it's asking folks to make a particular action in response to this
Yeah, so
info.
there's no call to action. It says contact Healthcare for All for more information, but that's not a call to action as defined by the IRS. So you're absolutely right. There's no call to action. It's not directed at a particular legislator. What if the advocates handed it out? What if the folks brought it up to Beacon Hill and we're handing it out to legislators. Would that change things?
I guess, well, the view I have right now, I can't tell if there's like a particular bill or if they're just generally talking about legislation.
Yeah, they're talking specifically. It's the Act expanding affordable coverage through Connector Care Act. It's HB 1186. I changed the slide here. I was covering it up with my second part of it.
I mean, I can tell they have a position, but I guess
Hmm.
it still seems like they're not saying vote in a certain way. They're saying like this is important for this legislation to pass, but it still doesn't seem like that direct of an ask to
Okay.
take a particular stance or action either way.
Okay. Does anyone else want to jump in, like to help share your thoughts here as well? Come off of mute. Patricia, do you want to explain what you said? You just said if you're handing it out to legislators, it's implied.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're going directly to their colleagues, I
Hmm.
think it, I mean, I just think it's implied that you want them to get together and support each other and push this bill forward.
Sure. So going back to that definition of direct lobbying, it's any communication with a legislator that reflects a view on legislation. And so if we're just handing this fact sheet out to legislators, it reflects a view on legislation. It says that why we think this is good legislation and why the legislation, should be, enacted. The key is we don't know whether this was distributed broadly to the public first or not. If it's distributed broadly to the public, that's where folks are going here with the question about call to action. So for example, Ashley says there's no call to action on this materials. So if this report, and in fact, Healthcare for All did distribute it broadly to the public. Healthcare for All got this fact sheet out to all sorts of journalists all around the state. They sent it to, podcasters. They sent it to all sorts of, PTAs and groups that were concerned about expanding access. They got it to physicians organizations. They distributed this fact sheet broadly to the public, and it didn't have a call to action. So that meant that all of the costs of writing this fact sheet and printing it up were non-lobbying expenses. And then after they had distributed it broadly to the public, they also handed it out to legislators on Beacon Hill. And the time that they spent giving it to legislators was part of their lobbying time because they were talking to legislators about this bill. But the cost of writing the fact sheet itself was not a lobbying expense because they were distributing this fact sheet about the bill broadly to the public with no call to action. And so that was one of the ways that they structured their campaign to leverage non-lobbying dollars, was by writing this up and distributing it out broadly to the public before they gave it to legislators. I want to go back to Ashley's question about technical advice and assistance. She asked, to meet the exception, the technical advice has to be in response to a request. It can't just be something you offer. That's correct. You can't just show up at the committee hearing and deliver testimony. It needs to be in response to a written request from that legislative body asking for your testimony, asking for your expertise. Here's an example. We're going to move a little bit quickly, so I'm going to just explain this one. Here we have Tammy Duckworth visiting a Head First center, and she's reading to kids at a Head First center. Totally non-lobbying, because those kids aren't talking about legislation with her. It can be expensive to set up one of these site visits, one of these local visits to have a legislator come out to read to kids, for example, at a Head Start center, or to tour your childcare center or meet with the parents' council of your center, you want them to have a really educational experience and learn about the waiting list for your Head Start center, learn about, the leaky roof and all of the ways that you're serving kids at your center. But you don't need to spend lobbying dollars for that. Just set it up with the legislator that you're not going to talk about legislation. You're just going to talk about the issues facing your center. And the whole visit is a non-lobbying expense. If the legislator wants to say, hey, this is fascinating, what can I do? What kind of legislation could we introduce to help ameliorate these problems? You can say, look, let's talk about that next week. I'm happy to follow up with your staff about developing some legislation. Today, we just want to have you meet with these parents and hear about their lived experiences so that you can pay for all of the costs related to that site visit using non-lobbying dollars. Questions about site visits and things like that? Is that that should be relatively straightforward for folks, because if there's no discussion of legislation, then it wouldn't be a lobbying expense. A little bit more challenging, we have this op-ed in the Baltimore Sun. In the Sun, they wrote an op-ed. This was the American Heart Association and Sugar Free Kids Maryland wrote this op-ed asking the city council. It says the city council should pass a bill banning sugary drinks from kids' menus. On Monday, the city council is going to vote on the Healthy Kids Meal Bill. The city council has an opportunity to make a big improvement in people's lives. This legislation is good policy. Passing this bill will make a big difference in all of our children's futures. Let's vote in the chat box here. Do you think this is direct lobbying? Is it grassroots lobbying, non-lobbying? What do you think? And why? Why do you think it's direct or grassroots lobbying or non-lobbying? This was written by the Heart Association staff. They asked Pastor Slayton to put his name on it, so they had to work with Pastor Slayton to get it written, put in his voice. They had to pitch it to the Baltimore Sun. Stephanie says it's non-lobbying because it's a public communication. It doesn't go just to city council members. That's correct. And it doesn't have a call to action. What do other folks think? That's right. So Angela agrees here with Stephanie. Non-lobbying. Angela, do you want to? Ashley says it's non-lobbying also. Well, on Ashley, this was written by folks at the American Heart Association for Pastor Slayton. So the staff time here was all folks at the AHA writing this op-ed. They gave it to the pastor for his name on it. But Stephanie was right. It's non-lobbying. It says the city council should pass this bill, right? It says the city council should pass this bill, but there's no IRS call to action on this. There's nothing in this that says call the city council, right? Because no one reading the Baltimore Sun is going to call the city council just because the op-ed said so. and we all know it takes a long time to write an op-ed. You have to write it, you have to research it, work with Pastor Slayton and the Baltimore Sun editorial board. So all of that time is non-lobbying time, paid for with a foundation grant. But what the Heart Association and Sugar Free Kids Maryland did next is the really powerful thing. After this was published in the Sun, they blasted out emails to everybody on their email list, broken down by precinct, and they had all sorts of social media posts ready to go, and they had distributed the social media posts to all of their coalition allies. So as after this was published in the Baltimore Sun, they blasted out on social media and email saying, if you check out Pastor Slayton's op-ed, if you care about keeping kids healthy, call your city council member right now. That social media work, the emails and social media posts, took a half hour of time. It took 10 hours to write and pitch and edit this op-ed. That was 10 hours of non-lobbying time, and then a half hour of lobbying time to blast out the social media posts and emails. But of course, those social media posts and emails generated a ton of contacts to the city council members, because those social media and emails said, if you care about this, call your city council member right now, click this link to call or email them. That was to a highly motivated select group of people. It only took a half hour. The posts and the emails, as Angela said, they all linked to the op-ed, and they said, check out this op-ed, and if you care about this, call your city council member right now. And that generated a ton of contacts to the city council, but it didn't turn the underlying expense into a lobbying expense, because the op-ed had already been distributed broadly to the public first before they did any of that social media outreach. And of course, the social media was grassroots lobbying because they're asking people to contact, but it generated a lot of contacts. So it's a valuable investment. Here's another example. Here's we have a better balance distributed information where they tagged specific members about the Family Act in Congress, saying Rosa DeLauro and Kirsten Gillibrand introduced this important bill. Check out all you need to know about this important legislation. Remember, a call to action includes providing a legislator's contact information. Tagging DeLauro and tagging Gillibrand, as opposed to spelling their name out, meant that that's their contact information. It provides the contact information for these legislators. It means that this social media post, because they're tagged and it reflects a view on legislation, is grassroots lobbying. But again, it's super cheap to make the social media post. And because you're tagging them, it alerts them that you're supporting them online. It alerts them that you're informing people about how important their role is in this legislation. So it's much more effective for the organization to tag them, to pay for it with grassroots lobbying money, and then to get that credit and get people to respond and also tag DeLauro and Gillibrand, talking about how glad they are that it got distributed. So the last example I want to give here is for like a launch event. This is a launch event for the first time we did Strolling Thunder, when I also represent 0 to 3. They launched this with an event at the US Capitol building, but they wanted to use non-lobbying dollars. So they told Representative DeLauro, we're doing a non-lobbying event. We want you to speak about the policies related to infant and child and toddler brain development, but we're not going to talk about any legislation. So they did a really effective event at the Capitol building with legislators. If they were talking with legislators about legislation, then that would be treated as direct lobbying, obviously, right? If you have a press conference with legislators talking about legislation, it's going to be treated as direct lobbying because it's a communication with legislators about legislation. Because they wanted to use a foundation grant here, a non-lobbying foundation grant, we just made sure that all of the speakers were clearly briefed on getting their toes up to the line, but not talking about legislation. talking about how Congress has an important policy role to play in supporting infant and toddler brain development without crossing over that line. On the flip side, other years with Strolling Thunder, they were working to push legislation. And so in those other years, they just used lobbying dollars. They used direct lobbying dollars and had legislators talk about the legislation at the event at the Capitol. It's just a matter of how you're structuring the event, what money you're using, and most importantly, strategically, what's going to be a good use of your dollars. If you have legislation that's pending, then by all means, pay for the launch event, pay for the press conference with direct lobbying dollars. So that wraps up the prepared materials here. We can, folks, we can stick around and answer some more questions that people have as people come up. We have a question here. If other people need to drop off, I appreciate your hanging in there for this, and really appreciate all the work that all of you do through NCIT. Stephanie has a question here. She wants to know, if you do a press event at the State House where you provide information about a bill, like the one that's on the screen here, if you hand out fact sheets, it depends on whether those fact sheets have been distributed broadly to the public or not, whether those fact sheets are going to be treated as a lobbying expense or not. So the question here is the time, if you have sponsors speaking about a bill that they've introduced, then all of the costs of planning the event will also count as lobbying because the event itself is a lobbying communication. So in the Strolling Thunder example here, where Rosa DeLauro is talking just about the big policy issues, the time and expenses related to planning that press conference are also non-lobbying events. But in subsequent years, if you have legislators talking about a bill, then all of the time and expense of planning that press conference or planning that rally is going to be a lobbying expense. Stephanie, do you want to weigh in with more specifics on that?
So what if this is what if you're talking about a specific bill, but you're talking about it not at the State House? Like, let's say you're having a press event, I don't know, at a different location, and there are, 80 people there, and 6 of them are legislators, and the other 74 of them are people who care about the issue, but the sponsors are speaking about their bill.
If the sponsors are, forget about how many people attend the press conference or where it is.
Yeah.
If you do a press conference with legislators, then that's a communication with a legislator about legislation. It doesn't matter whether it's at the Capitol building or out in front of a child care center. Now, it may very well be that it's worth investing direct lobbying dollars in that event because your legislators are going to be thrilled to be getting that public acknowledgement and looking good in front of their constituents and looking good in front of the press. So if you can set up the press conference, get legislators who are the sponsors to speak at it, it's you may wind up thinking that in the trade-off of, restricted money versus unrestricted money, you may want to spend some restricted lobbying dollars because it's going to cement those folks as champions on your issue.
Right. I guess I'm just trying to understand the difference between a public, distributing information to the general public. So if you had a press event, there were some legislators there and some non-legislators there, but the sponsors did not speak, and you spoke about the bill. You did not have a call to action, and there were that would be different, right? So
it's just a bunch of nonprofits holding a press conference about a bill with no legislators speaking at it, right? Then if it's just a bunch of nonprofit officials talking about a bill, then you wouldn't have a call to action at a press conference. You're not going to say, so everybody call your legislator. That would count as a non-lobbying communication. because you're communicating to the public and journalists about a bill. I mean, about a bill with no call to action on it. But the question in that trade-off is, does it anger the sponsors that you didn't invite them to participate in your press conference? Do they lose out on the opportunity for looking good in front of their constituency? So there's a balancing there of whether or not to save your lobbying dollars or whether to spend lobbying dollars. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Sam. Thanks for staying a little
Sure.
extra.
Oh, my
It was
pleasure.
really helpful information.
I like the Princess Bride poster in the background.
Thank you.
Anyone else have other questions or? All right, with that, we'll wrap things up. And I appreciate everyone else for joining in today.